You ended at 5, Tinawa at 6. Implementation of gender responsive planning, budgeting, monitoring and evaluation in all departments. Advocacy and prevention programs, awareness and education, advocacy and prevention, integration with gender commission on issues of gender. Because some people think that gender is women. And we're arguing that gender is gender beyond women. That's what we're doing. The next one is the Provincial Council on AIDS, Honorable Muhono. It's number 7. You ended at number 5. On this one, we are saying coordinate a multi-sectoral collaboration to achieve prescribed goals. There's 3 that have not been added there. One is, if you can note, Secretariat, ensure that all sectors prioritize the work and functioning of provincial council structures and on aid structures, including availability of political office bearers to chair, direct the work of the council. A district mayor must not delegate an MMC for health to chair. A premier must not delegate an MEC of health to chair. The chair in the province is the premier, the co-chair is civil society. The chair in the district municipality is the district mayor, the co-chair is civil society. The chair in the local municipality is the local mayor, civil society is co-chair. The second one is that the PCA secretariat from district to local should be located in the office of mayors. In your own staff, delegate one official to include coordination of provincial council on AIDS, district, and council on AIDS, local. Because you are a chair, this person must be in your office accounting to you as a mayor. The last one is that the province must participate in the upcoming SANAC coordinated visit to KZN PCA, which is meant to benchmark on functionality of PCAs. It's on the 7th to 9th of November, 2022. Remember, that's the last one. Remember, this was our original recommendation to SANAC. It's now taken up by SANAC. It now includes 3 provinces, compulsory. It's Northwest PCA, Gauteng PCA, Free State PCA. In that delegation, it's compulsory that the co-chair must lead the delegation. The MEC of Health and MEC of Social Development must be there. District mayors, Comrade Nikiwe, must be there. PCA Secretariat and program managers for social development, health, education, COGTA and SALGA must be in attendance 7 to 9. Thank you very much, Comrade Head of Elections in the province. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mhlekazi. This is not an elections meeting. This is not a PET or PMT meeting. No, thanks very much, MEC Sambata. I must defend MEC Muhono, the presenter. You responded to all questions. So you were quite in order. I see this commission decided not to be decisive. We wanted just key 5 areas, mega projects. You decided to give us a list of issues, but we appreciate that you are now delegating that responsibility to the DG and the HODs. And that is why you took so much time. But we appreciate and welcome the presentation. I must direct the meeting and remind you in terms of the directives what we are supposed to do. No, thanks very much, MEC We still have time. Let me just remind you that I said that if there are any additions, we'll take additions immediately after all presentations have been made, and then from there would go to the discussion. Can we, at this stage, request the Executive Mayor of Dr. Kaunda, Comrade Julia, Executive Mayor Nikwenam, to take us through the presentation, commission, the last commission. Remember, you are allocated 30 minutes. 15 minutes is for discussion. So within your 35 minutes, 30 minutes is for presentation, 15 minutes for addition and discussion and all that. Thank you. Over to you, Executive Mayor Nam.
Thank you, Ntatemola PC. Greetings to the Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council, all protocol observed. Now, by instruction of the chairperson of the committee, I was requested to stand in for MEC Linamecha. A lot of issues, baseline and principle, have been said. One, DG, we realized that most of the municipalities, the MMs, were not in the meeting. There was a skewed representation of districts, including departments. We did what we can. So we are assuming that there would be one meeting to consolidate and further have inputs from the districts and provincial government departments that were not in the commission. The committee was requested to deal with those questions. I'm going to skip them for now. I think for us to be able to discuss, we had a context of issues that we're going to be discussing. And next slide. The pillars of good governance, we acknowledge the pillars that we ought to have that would drive good governance: policies and legislative frameworks, efficient institutions of governance, the rule of law, credibility and independent internal control systems and structures, which all of the commissions have spoken to. I'm not going to dwell on that. Robust planning, monitoring, evaluation systems, effective anti-corruption measures, strong research and information management, fiscal efficiency, promotion of technological and infrastructure development, delivery of quality basic services, promotion of employment equity, targeted programs for women, youth, disabled people, and we also need to add your military veterans as part of the vulnerable groups. Human capital and capability to deliver the services. These are the issues that we believe if each of the municipalities and provincial government we take every day and we put in elements in each one of those issues to recorrect, reprioritize and repurpose, there would be much more of the issues that we deal with. Next slide. We also did some of the strengths that we have as government, the 3 tiers of government. One of the strengths that we have as government is that the budget envelope of the province, including our municipalities and districts, if properly repurposed and repackaged, it could achieve growth objectives. Legislature and regulatory frameworks are adequate, albeit the fact that in some of the areas, we are calling for the central government and provincial government to speed up regulating in some of the areas that are not properly regulated, particularly because your Northwest is constituted of 3 former areas, your Western Transvaal, your Buputatswana, and your TBV areas. So there are some of the laws in the legislature that ought to govern the space that needs to be properly done and repurposed. But there has been sufficient acts, policies, and regulations. What we have not done as government is to pause for a minute and apply these policies and look at the gaps and begin to redo what needs to be done. because the environment and the conditions are changing every day. The weaknesses we have are indicated in the package: lack of compliance to legislative and regulatory frameworks. The biggest issue that we all agreed upon at the level of the Commission is that we introduced practices that are now institutionalized as normal practice. But when you look into those practices against what the regulations are saying, it's completely a different issue. So we need not assume that because we have a tendency, both administratively and politically, to want to interpret the law to suit us at a particular point, and thereby undermining the regulations that we have, and really robbing ourselves of the capability to correct where we need to do. Prolonged high vacancy rates, inadequate skills and competence in specialized areas. I think both commission reporters, Baba Nebalimo, they have gone to town and back. The biggest issue, executive mayors, MECs, premier, we bring comrades to our offices, and they absolutely don't have any capability, no skill, no willingness, because one of the key issues is willingness to learn. How una problem in the administration because only connection. Now we first have to deal with ourselves before we can even deal with the rest of the administration in government. Over-reliance of government on external suppliers, poor monitoring and evaluation systems of performance. Now, one of the part of the opportunities that we have, just a few comrades will add: leveraging of private sector investment, competitive advantage of the Northwest economy in mining and agriculture, with potential for job creation and fast tracking. We are rich in minerals in the province, and that mineral is located in various districts. But the legislation and the applicability of what we package for our communities, it creates a problem because we are not able to use the revenue and the taxes that are collected to be able to expand the envelope in municipalities. We still go to minerals and energy. The application of a permit of a municipality is hijacked by people. Government is silent. Municipalities are nowhere to be found. And if we can take a robust approach of ensuring that both local and district municipalities, you become the shareholders through agency in your own district. You hold the share, you define the people that are, you define the new rules, you define the space. Then you are able to declare dividends back into council, and that money can now begin to expand the development programs of a municipality. Why would it be private sector? When we can borrow the private sector and leverage from them and still be part of participating. Minerals and Energy says there's no law that says a government department or a provincial government or local government cannot apply for a permit in collaboration with their own communities. And this is the only way of going, because if we want to break the cycle of capitalist systems, that we are so much comfortable because even the 51% that ought to go to the community, nobody talks about it because now the money is not circulating in the province. The money is not finding expression and creating jobs because we've allowed that foreign people and capitalists must come and take over what we can do. And I think that new thinking is really requested. Threats in our community. It doesn't matter how much money you have, comrades. Go and build your houses in town, put in the best security fences, the highest technology. I'm telling you, one day the community will erupt. You will never know how they got into your house. They will eat us alive. no amount of resources you have will protect you. We are sitting on a ticking time bomb. We either realize it now, or we close our eyes. It's my time to eat. Where are we going to spend that money? Now we need to turn around and begin to worry about issues of high unemployment amongst our communities. Poor service delivery as a result of corruption, political instability in the province, corruption and malfeasance. One of the key issues that we could not respond to at the level of the commission, if you come in, uli MEC mohon, corruption in your department, and you begin to do what MEC Sambata is saying, charge people, put systems in place. There is no law of protection of those that are rooting out corruption. When one problem, you become a problem. And there is no clarity politically of a thought of people that understands governance in our political organization. To begin to come back and say, let's listen to you. Now we are coming and making a determination. This deploy is correct. Let's move in this direction. Otherwise, because we're now problem. How do we then begin to bring those issues and allow those that are willing to clean corruption to be able to do what they do best? High impact programs and projects. This slide only accounts for particular issues that will constitute your 5 key programs. But these are high impact projects that we believe they cut across all municipalities, all districts in our province. And these are the contemporary social issues. If we were to focus on them, we will turn around the tide because we will turn around the tide because they have got potential to massively employ our people on the ground. Deal with water and sanitation issues, deal with solid waste management issues, ensure that we massify at a high scale ICT development in our province. Rona re palletswe tla re bagolo, mare bana ba rona, we must not deny them the opportunity to innovatively engage with technology because this is the only way in which they can express themselves. Not everything should be about employment. When we give them, they will be able to bring in technology advances that are required because they carry in them those things. Now we only have to create space for them to be able to do that. And we have to set aside a budget. Somebody gig per month. Else's child does not even have 20 megabytes. Now they need the 20 megabytes because you can't work against the evolution of humanity. Bari mudimu witsi bofelo before khusumuluga. Now he knew 30 years ago that at this point, these are the kids that will be required. What we are doing was sitting on top of a potential inherent gifts. And then we are crying foul here. The gifts are there. These children who are in the multiple of the areas of rural outskirts and farm areas in our communities, they have the solutions. Are we creating the enabling environment for them to be able to express and assist us? No, we're not doing that. And this is just one of the many issues. ICT, sports, arts and culture. Gifts, you can earn through your gift. Are we able to develop the necessary infrastructure for these young people to be trained at a young age? A living out of that. We want to force every child to school. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. We ought to be able to balance them. So we are saying some of the issues are those ones. The 5 questions, we identified a number of programs, but we chose to put these ones in here. Rehabilitation of old mine shafts. We ought to rehabilitate the old mine shaft across the province, not only in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. Complete unfinished infrastructure projects. Bahulu, we are not going to run away from this one. None of us is going to be able to campaign. a re dumalaneng gore re ske be ra tsa madi ra aga matlo a matšha a re hetseng di-projects tsotlhe tse di emeng for the last 25 years di teng data we have quantification of amounts is there mare re tswala matlho be re re somebody else will deal with it. And I can tell you it's not going to work this time because communities are up and running. They know what is it now. Aritseng decision, Honorable Premier and MEC's feasibility study for a number of projects that are related to water bulk pipe projects. One of the things that we realize is that our planning is skewed. Once money is available, so we ought to be able to have feasibility studies, plans, projections and everything. When the money is available, you just put it to the level of the conditions of the time, re-quantify the amounts, and then be able to implement. We are not able to spend because we have not planned and put plans on a side. Restart pele ka go plan. Road project ya ko Swaziland to Amalia, fresh produce market, lime mining. These are just a few of the issues that we've identified. In the next slide, continuation of those mega projects, establishment of buyback centers for recycling. One of the key critical components, Premier Halekare had budget rotle la falidi departments. Waste management has got a potential to unlock massive jobs. From dealing with waste from home, collection and recycling, the entire value chain. Buyback center city capacity where repackage because part of these you can utilize them for regeneration of energy. We now know the potential that lies in the waste management entire value chain. Commission and study on salt pen. Hona le salt pen kwa ko tswaing. Hona le tsela e dirileng ka letswai ko Botswana. Yang Botswana bagolo. Salt can create massive jobs, but it can also create infrastructure. We're sitting on top of it. Nobody says anything. We need to be able to say, what are these areas that we can utilize? Revitalization of rail tracks. Hona le di districts that are properly located. Engwe kwa N12, engwe kwa N4. Mari, we've got one of the biggest rail network in the province that can be utilized. Do you know that rail network can also be utilized for ICT development? We've got these connecting hubs, it's a railway, that we can resuscitate and begin to have export purposes on whether agriculture related projects and programs or products that we are indicating. So we are saying we need an integrated plan per district that will be able to say what ought to be done, how do we do it, so that we offload the volumes on the roads. Rehabilitation of old mines, eradication of bucket system, not only the rehabilitation of old mines. Hona le di sinkholes steady nangteng across the areas ko go kileng gana le di mine. A special funding, Honorable Premier, o ka rekapa, really the district mayor, re tla ya go go president, re ka kry madi. Let's deal with because part of the problem, MEC Sambat, for 25 years, prior to democracy coming in, private sector was not requested to set aside funds for rehabilitation. So it's a backlog that belongs to the state. So the state must set aside funds in the Northwest. The president has long pronounced that there is money available in my office. All former towns and former mining areas, Kayang, these are the plans. Let's deal with the plans, quantify and do them so that we are able to deal with that. Eradication of bucket system. In some areas, people are still using buckets. It's not something that we can pride ourselves with. Study on dolomitic areas and impact on infrastructure, unfinished projects. I think it's a repetition on some of these issues. Public-private partnership, that's the only way, our approach to go. Both the N12 and the N14 agriculture master plan, the Northwest, over and above the minerals. Agriculture actually is our number one economic potential. If properly packaged, we can be the food production hub of the country, including abroad. Provincial skills audit in terms of demand and supply in the areas that we prioritize as government is also important. The programs and projects that will empower women, people living with disabilities, children, elderly, and the youth. Procurement for designated groups. I think a lot of commissions have spoken on some of these issues. I'm not going to dwell on them. Women empowerment to combat gender-based violence. The view, which may not necessarily be correct, Premier, is that Department of Social Development, Rally Kopa MEC toch asoblief. Honale family unit, Chief Directorate, for Department of Social Development. If we all agree that 10 years ago there were 500,000 households in the Northwest that are child-headed, you can imagine the kind of values they carry today. Societal behavior. That number has tripled at this point. Now you need to intervene and nip it where it starts, in the family structures that are broken. Because values in our society, if you don't coerce and deliberately build them, you will have to accommodate any kind of value. And all of these people are going to be your public servants, police, health officials, but a set of their own understanding of what order is. And then we come back and say, public servants basenya. Why basenya? Baswakokai. If we can track them, we'll realize the importance and the value of broken family structures that ought to be resuscitated deliberately through funding of massive NGOs in our community, so that they deal with the renewal and the rehabilitation and the reorientation of the mind. EPWP disability socio-economic empowerment projects, ring-fence entry-level positions for youth. Honali recycling yadi public servants across. Honali diposo tsa administrator. Raplaya rotle mo pusong retsa o re motsenya mo and then re motsenya yan. There is no set of targets that we set ourselves for new entries in government, particularly at a low level post, so that consciously we deal with levels of graduates that are sitting at home that are unemployed. So if each one of us, in the many structures that we have approved, reach 50, cycle 20, 70%, let's get new entrances into the system, give them the capacity and be able to absorb them. But that does not only happen here. It happens at a senior management, middle management. Nikyo chinchile di job seka 5 aliwan. O chaser salary. Hana interest ya go itse mmereko le go dula mo poso. What running after money because we want to augment the lifestyles that we have created. Include gender teaching in school curriculum. Gender is not about females or domestic violence. It's power relations between men and women in our society. And if we start it there, those curriculums from an early childhood, we will then be able to expose and begin to appreciate the power relations between men and women. The politicians because I'm now earning a salary, I'm a mayor, I go home. Okay, buy driver, driver. Now, it's power relations. A man feels intimidated. No, we can't do it here, but I can tell you, we come from there, all of us. And but why are you smiling with these comrades? And I'm saying, Kima comrade, no, but you are smiling. It's for the first and the last time I can tell you that. You are not going to do that with me. Mary, there are many women. No, there are many women mayors that I know now who are suffering the same fate. Because as a public leader, where do you cry? And we need this session so that we can, so we definitely need that kind of support. May his soul rest in peace. I'm sure Mudimu Mutsetsu so Rubidite wana kiasi na mulatu. That's my budget. Gender-based budgeting is very important, Honorable Premier. Our budgets are only limited to awareness campaigns. There's no prolonged advocacy-related programs that brings communities together and begin to discuss and debate some of the issues that we are faced with as a society. Existing programs to strengthen and improve service delivery and ensure good governance. Most of the issues that are in this slide have been spoken about. What we are emphasizing as a committee over and above what the issues were raised by two colleagues that reported earlier. Let's reduce reliance on service providers. And Julie, really, can't we simply do them and bring in systems that are accommodative? We've overregulated ourselves, we are now paying more. But what is the problem, Treasury, Office of the Premier? Why are we not releasing the pricing index in government? What is the problem? We always deal with it and we are not finalizing it. It's one of the issues that we can deal with. Integration of planning amongst various levels. When you attend IDP hearings, that's not planning, Bahol. It's the first step. DDM requires Mechosh. No MEC must sit and conceptualize a program that needs to be funded through his department. Alemunos. Litimia di administrators. Ba finalize APP. Nta timi e hudula li di district. Udule atore na for this district. My budget on this area and that area put together is 2 billion. Now municipalities, all of you, are doing hati. Let's plan. Yanong li tirela di NGO tanye na makom. Hey, ya di MEC ba tirela di NGO tsabone. Ba tsena ba implementa di programs le di program. Tse re sa ditse. O go founela le mo groundong gore ke mo groundong. And then you go like, but why? No, but okay, Ricky did mal. Implement lifestyle audits. Implement lifestyle audits. Ha gona gore ka negotiate. MEC khosho ne ke ro starte ko KK. Rona re ka go fa le lekwalela le resolution o starte kwa. Particularly ko SCM and all these functional structures. The kind of things that our officials own. Yeah. It's very serious. Investigate, graft, bribery, payment of creditors, corrupt SCM contract arrangements. Train executives and councillors on good governance. You know, MEC Khosho, the assumption of government, particularly our political organization, is that it is councillors, Baba Domonyana, Baba Saiting Sip. Ke assumption is dangerous. The bar was lowered when you began to appreciate members of the Executive Council who know nothing about governance. They can't even chair meetings in their departments. They can't produce a vision and provide strategic direction to their departments. But nobody talks about them. Rona appreciate ko local the councillors rona haditsi sepe mare training and development must happen. Marimo provincial government liko di minister nobody says anything. The assumption is that they understand the no governance. All right, forensic reports. Now the bar is not only order protection.
Let's allow the presenter to the commission was very busy. Let's allow the presenter to
yes,
conclude,
the last point on that matter. The bar was never set at local government. But the acknowledgement should be that the bar does not exist at province and national level. Akona bar measure your capacity and ability to govern by individuals that are deployed at various levels. So we must change our tune ourselves and not only talk about local government. We must acknowledge the level ya local. In fact, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong, former MEC Muthaban. When you have a councillor who is not exposed to anything because the only area that they know is local, it becomes the duty of government once they become councillors to prepare them for a broader participation beyond their limited area. But imagine on a lady MEC tse di sa itseng sepe ba go. Lady minister, they can't even interrogate the report to your department. Now,
Point well made.
Existing support, RAM cleanup ya di audits, re dumalana rotlhe. The audits di tshwantse di diragale go di masepaleng. And part of the issues that we need to be doing is ensuring that we improve on our performance. Strengthening accountability chains, limit over-reliance to service providers, we spoke about that. High vacancy review, COCTA. Okay, COCTA, Premier, Rahukopa, Honorable Warun. Bitsa COCTA ka mosho go seng ne. O bona ke eme ha, sike. Obora ore, mpeng structure sa lona sa unity e supportang di masepala. Lebe le mpha le budget ya gore how much budget have you set aside? Lebe le mpha le di programa tse le di implementang. Tse di bontshang gore this support is not malicious but it's intended, it's substantive, and it is aimed at changing the face of local government. Ayo. Ya no nerere le ba thuse ba re thuse. Le ba feng budget and really reposition them. Provincial Treasury, when you've tried the best, ke go bone ka matlo, a ke go buelle. Ke bone di timi tsa gago go di districting. Ha re ba tlhoka ba nna teng, they are massively on the ground and they are doing what is expected. It's not enough, you can do better and strengthen where you've done that work. Mare COCTA yone ha iyo bagolo. Ha ke batle go bua maka. Institutional, and not only COCTA and Provincial Treasury.
Executive Mayor.
All departments, MEC, are expected in terms of Section 54 of the Constitution. All departments. These ones are critical for the survival of municipalities. Yano ra go tlhoka gore le shebe di support units tsa lona re kgone gore le di rumele ko tlase. I think most of the issues, we need the Premier to oversight and call for reports of DDM champions in the various districts. They must prepare reports to EXCO. It must be a standing item. At the same time, district mayors must also have an opportunity to report mayors who are not attending district development model sessions. So we need to monitor ourselves. There must be some kind of a formula, a system, and a plan that we can do so that we are able to deal with it. MMCs, the member of the mayoral committee, Rona arena any signed contract of performance. Mare Rona reka design li di MMC tsa rona. And set standards for this is what is expected of you, so that we are able to measure and ensure that we move forward. These were spoken about in other commissions. We fully agree and support the special economic zones, agro-processing, train production, fresh produce market, including other areas. Next slide. The DDM, we spoke about it. Most of the issues we've raised already. Monitoring and evaluation becomes very critical. Frameworks and tools that ought to be put in place for us to be able to improve on our performance becomes very, very critical. I think that's the last point. The last point that I would request to add, MEC Mohono and team, if you agree. We need to do something about the assets of government that are found dormant and lying unattended. Because government can utilize its updated asset register to begin to demonstrate their capacity to leverage and get funds from the various private sectors. Now, MEC Public Works all infrastructure of government that is lying in various municipalities, package, quantify it, and be able to hand it over. Leave what you can use. In the district municipalities, high-level infrastructure, hand it over to the district so that we don't have infrastructure that is not found, and we are able to account for it, because it will help us in the leveraging and negotiating with the private sector and international funders. Re a leboga. Oh, Mayor re le patale di services.
Thank you very much, Executive Mayor Mango. This is what we're gonna do, colleagues. We are going to allow for additions if there is any from members of different commissions. And then from there, we'll get into the discussions and recommendations. What I want to suggest is that as we discuss, we must be very specific, because as you can see, the last commission that has just presented, they've presented quite a number of issues. Now we need to be very realistic. Look into things that are feasible, look into things that are doable, and agree on the time frame. We can have a shopping list of all number of issues, which is a wish list. But if we want to be realistic and be more pragmatic, we must say this is what we can do at this period, and agree that it must be implemented. And the DG, together with the team of HODs, and I think the Premier will touch on this as he map a way forward, will then go and look into all these other issues. What must not happen here is this Lekgotla becoming a talk show. We come back again sometime next year. We repeat all the same things that we have said this year. I think at this time we need to be more pragmatic so that we can respond to all the challenges that have been raised, because all what has been presented by different commissions and those proposals, I think those are the things that needs to be attended to. But we must agree, look into our capacity, look into what we are able to implement within a stipulated time frame. Can I therefore then maybe note those hands of people who want to make additions in different commissions, not in any order of priority? It can be from Commission 1 or Commission 2 or Commission 3. There are at this stage only 3 hands of people who want to make additions. And I'm going to recognize only these hands. They are 4 now. Only those people will start Kare Lehlo, and then Bagometing, and then HOD. The mayor, you will be the last. You want to speak? Okay, you will then follow after Remurule Majoro, you will be the last. In that order, please.
Ntate Molapisi, khotso. Now, Ntate Molapisi ya ka se input. Watswa ki ithutile mo bophelong hore a change is a very difficult.
Maybe thing. Just you proceed. Before you proceed, I'm going to request that we are direct.
Yes.
We have listened to the presentations and all that. So no history, no preambles, no nothing. Just direct to the issue. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chair. The issue that I wanted to correct, Lekgotla le ka yona, Ntate Molapisi, this living with disability, I don't know where it comes from. We have to correct that. Ke yona attitude e ke buang ka yona. I'm not living with disability. Ke bile le polio, and polio caused disability in my body. So I'm not living with disability. People who are having HIV/AIDS, they are living with HIV/AIDS. I'm living with high blood pressure because it's a disease to me. It's a chronic disease. Now, you compare to kisa haring olantu tseba kholo man. We can now and then correct. I want to commission CA, commissioner di lasin datim lapis. Inali the change spirit. Ibuli ka di changes tengad. We raised our issues as a sector here yesterday. Really, they didn't even touch the issue of barriers as a change. More government day. And I like that. But the change on the disability issue is not there. It's only Commission 1 because we were present in the Commission 1. So nikikupa that change to be direct, to say we all know here sitting in this Lekgotla, and I like this Lekgotla. I like this Kitamile Makotla Manziakele Mayara. This one. As a belief premier, as a belief, DDG, how do you go to meetings alone enforce issues that disability? You know all the issues. Renali, Renali, 3 clusters of barriers. Socio-economy and if we can deal all these issues, character towards disability will change. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think scribers have noted that your concern on issues of disability, that the Commission has omitted some of the things. Next speaker.
Morning, Premier, and all protocol observed. Yesterday, I didn't have the chance to contribute to the commissions. We had a meeting with the Minister regarding the Dinokana challenges. However, the Premier had asked me to provide solutions. Challenges and we need solutions. Now, one of the problems that we have identified is a dysfunctional infrastructure. But the infrastructure itself is not able to provide that water. So we need to have a strategy on how to deal with that. To address that, we have started with the 5-year reliability studies. Yesterday, we had a progress report back meeting with Dr. Ruth Sukhomotsi Mumpati and Ngaka Mudir Mulema. I was here, but my team addressed the 2 municipalities on progress. The other 2 districts, we did not appoint because COCTA had indicated that they will do that. We gave them the terms of reference, but later on they came back and said, now can we proceed with addressing those 2 districts as well. So we are on the procurement, we have started the procurement process for the 2 districts, Limbojana, Lali, Dr. KK. To address the 5-year reliability plans. As I've said in previous meetings, these 5-year reliability plans will assist us in coming up with the assessment, the whole infrastructure, so that we can also come up with an asset register as well as an operation and maintenance plan, which will inform how much budget must be allocated for the operation and maintenance of the infrastructure, because that has been the challenge. In terms of the long-term projects, we are looking at transferring water from Dr. Ruth, from the integrated Vaal River system, up to Ngaka Mudir Mulema. But with all the other municipalities along the path, also gaining from that transfer. That process is also in the planning stage. I want to present it here so that we can keep an eye on it and report always on the progress on that. With respect to Bojanala, we are looking at the Crocodile West water management area to provide water through the Pilanesberg project. But we have also had engagement Le Rustenburg municipality, where they have indicated a lot of water is being utilized, especially from rainwater, is being utilized by the mines for their operations. The MM was suggesting that we should revisit the idea of looking at a project that will provide industrial quality water to the mines so that they can release the drinking water. That is an issue that has to be taken up with the mines because it will be benefiting the mines. They will have to finance that. We also have the Lesotho-Botswana transfer. As I've indicated in the past, Botswana went to Lesotho to negotiate for a share of the massive resources that Lesotho has. But then the department intervened, and we are now looking at how we can also benefit, because that water will pass through South Africa on its way to Botswana. So we also need to benefit from that, and Northwest is one of those areas that will benefit. Chairperson, the other most important issue is about, as I'm closing, it's water conservation and demand management. We've got huge losses on our systems. In some systems, it's up to 40% losses in the system. Or maybe I should put it correctly, unaccounted for water, which is not necessarily just losses. And we need to invest a lot in ensuring that we plug the holes, we manage the systems much better so that we can stretch the little drop that we have so that it benefits everybody, as well as awareness creation. Since we are aware that globally, we use much more water per capita than the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you. I just allow you to make a new presentation. DG, I think we should have accommodated or made space for people who are dealing the water challenges in the provinces to how are they addressing or responding to this. We'll request you to make a submission to describe us on what you have just presented and maybe more other or additional information so that your presentation is incorporated on what has been presented. It's already submitted. Okay, thanks very much. Is it an intervention? Yes.
No, Chair, and my apology for yesterday, I couldn't make it. I sent an apology. I was not going to speak, but that matter presented, I knew here is problematic because these are national announcements where we as districts and water authorities are not properly engaged. It will never make sense economically for DWS to come here today and tell me, Ngaka, we are going to pull a pipe from Bloemhof to Ngaka. We are going to die and that pipe would not have arrived and we are going to spend billions. We want to engage properly with DWS. DDM must not only apply to others and others are exempted. That presentation for us is problematic. If it's going to be factored in there, it must be preceded by proper engagement. Thank you.
No, thanks very much, Executive Mayor. That is why I was saying that it should have been part of the presentation so that everybody can benefit and react on what would have been presented so that I read Lisika back door. But like I said, colleagues, this is not the end. The DG is going to sit down with the HOD and all other stakeholders where all these things that have been presented, suggested, are still going to be processed and look into the feasibility of the implementation of these things. Can we agree that we know the concern that has been raised by the Executive Mayor? We also note what you have presented and submitted, but concerns are noted. Premier, I'm not sure if you want to say something on this matter. I can see that. And then MEC Hosho, you want to come in? Okay, can I allow just hear what you want to say? I will conclude on this matter as to how we conclude it. MEC Hosho, then followed by MEC Sambata.
No, thanks, Chair, and good morning. I think, Chair, if you look into Commission C, we're speaking about planning, monitoring, and integration of all our programs. I think it's there in our recommendations, because we've agreed that in terms of the DDM, that's where we must all deposit our programs or our plans. They must be more integrated, more aligned, and also provide that support on water. That is why water is our first priority in terms of the project. But the planning thereof, how do we support this local government in making sure that they are able to apply for RBIC or WISIC grants? But there must be that integration. When we have a PIG that seeks to do the monitoring, operations and maintenance, it must be aligned but within the DDM. So issues and water into Department National DNC, they must be integrated within the DDM. So it is in our recommendation.
Thanks, Mrs. Sambata. Thanks, Ms. Hosho.
Chair, first I want to suggest that the Premier convenes a special Premiers Coordinating Council to deal with two issues, water and electricity. They then become part of the document as annexures, the two of them. We will not go to anybody and convince to vote for the ANC, because I'm deployed by the ANC, I can't talk for others, to vote for the ANC if we have no solution on water. We can't tell them when will they get water. So a special Premiers Coordinating Council, it includes everybody to only deal with these two items, Chair. The second suggestion, Chair, is that I think that we must move beyond anger. The issue of the terminology, let's be proper. And Comrade Karel is unfair to us. What we need, it's a circular by the sector and the DG to circulate provincially to departments and municipalities on the terminology. Because at one time, officially, the same sector was referred to as people living. It was changed, we agree. It's people with, not people living. So it's an issue that must be done for terminology, so that anyone who now develops an approach knows how proper to call the sector. Because if it is not done, others who are not here will still refer with the old reference. But even people who are here will not know why are you angry. It's because officially it has been changed. It's no longer people living with disability. It's people with disability. It has also to include assistive devices in the process. So there's an issue of communication that change. So that in the next meeting, we're not best when we're not dealing with that. The last one, Chair, I think that we must also deal with the issue that the commission, the last report dealt with. Yeah, removal, we must not say this and this. Remove experience as a requirement from all entry positions. Stick to qualifications. The ANC conference said this in Mangaung. You are just refusing as officials. Now we are accused. It's officials who are refusing. The ANC said remove experience on entry and only require it on promotional posts. That's what must be done by the province. Last, Chair.
No, it can't be so many last.
No, the last one, Chair. It's because if we don't engage it, I'm speaking because I know I am not a failure. Right?
We are not discussing MEC Sambata, just to remind.
No, I'm saying, Chair, on this thing, the reason I'm raising, don't proclaim in a formal platform and declare failures with no proper assessment report. So it's wrong for the mayor of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda to declare either national, provincial, or local a failure without an assessment. If you know that a comrade is a failure, just keep it with you, that I have a failure here next to me. Don't declare in public. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, you are out of order, I must say. I have opened for additions. I said we are coming to discussion. I take that you have decided to intrude and make your discussion, make your submission in a platform or in a session, your discussion. So you have forfeited your chance. You must know that. No, HOD Murule, you were next to follow, followed by my colleague there. The mayor will be the last. Let's please follow the instruction. I don't want to stop you.
No, it will be very short. No, thanks, Premier and MECs and mayors, all protocol observed. I went through, I saw the presentation on the Commission C, and thus there's one critical aspect that the department is currently seized with, and that is the revitalization of the tea orchards in the province for purposes of economic injection as well as revenue stream for the province. I think that should also find expression and space in the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. I think it's noted. Your time, Madam.
Good morning, Premier. Colleagues, all protocol observed. For Chairperson's sake and everyone else who joined today, let me just introduce myself because you keep on saying the colleague there, but others you call them by names. My name is Nuku. My surname is Setwaba. I'm the district manager in Bujanala district for Home Affairs. I'm here on behalf of my provincial manager, Ms. Eunice Mtlanga. Right, now I'd like to make the following input. The presentation from Commission B by MEC Sambata talked about some infrastructure in justice and in schools. So I just want to check and wish to be accommodated in terms of the infrastructure in Home Affairs offices. We have a great challenge in offices in Home Affairs.
Sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry to.
Okay.
I have asked for additions.
Yes.
And then from there, what would follow is discussions. Just to clarify you, colleague.
No, I thought this, I wish this could be added to the presentation for Commission B.
Okay.
Because it's about offices, refurbishment and building.
Proceed.
Thank you. I'll start with the office here in Rustenburg because it's nearer. Not because I'm based in Rustenburg, but because at least now we are in the same vicinity, radius with Rustenburg. Rustenburg office, it's, if Department of Labor can go to that office will be closed. It doesn't comply in any way with the Witches Act. Even the clients that we are serving, they don't have shelter against harsh conditions of the weather. In Makapan
I'm the chairperson. Don't be distracted by people who are not given an opportunity.
Thank you for protecting me. In Makapanstad, we have offices everywhere, but in Makapanstad, the mayor will attest to that. We don't have any footprint. We have been struggling for long to have a footprint there. We service that municipality with a mobile, which is not enough. We had ministers visit on Monday. We returned clients. We had about 8 mobiles, but still we couldn't service everyone. What we request as a project is that we facilitate the issue of having an office, not a mobile office, an office in Makapanstad that will be able to assist our clients. The presentation yesterday from State SA, they said They know about the birth of people, the death of people, and everything else. They will never have that statistics if Home Affairs doesn't do its work. So if this Lekgotla can assist us to attend to those offices, there are a lot across the province, but I think those are the burning issues, including Swartragens. The office is too small. We have just introduced smart card in that office. Now it has become very small. There are at least, I'm not sure if, I can't list them all here, but if I can be given an opportunity to list them to someone who can just document them so that we can attend to them from provincial point of view. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleague. Mhlekazi. Executive Mayor.
Thank you very much. Muruta,
related to the whole show I'm cutting. Right, Chair, I just wanted to add 3 things, maybe which we spoke about. I thought that the other commissions will also speak to those things, but I feel that they were not covered. The issue of the M&E, monitoring and evaluation. We spoke on the I don't know what to call it, the model or the system that is used by Department of Health, nationally, provincially, and otherwise, to ensure that there's compliance in all of their facilities. That team that goes and even create give those facilities status, ideal clinics, to say now that government wants ideal municipalities, for example, we also want to position ourselves as the Northwest Province as probably, let's use that word, as an ideal province, for us to be able to ensure that all of these things that we're talking about now are properly implemented. We must have a delegated team, both at the provincial and district level, maybe as part of our DDM, to monitor the implementation part. Because if we are going to keep on saying monitoring and evaluation without coming with a system or a method of how are we going to do this monitoring, how frequent are we going to do this monitoring and evaluation, it's just going to end there. It's not going to bear any fruit. So I thought maybe the commission number 2, because the chair there is a master of the monitoring and evaluation, could actually factor that to ensure that we implement. The second one, Chair, was that one thing that we need to observe and correct is that as we implement the DDM model, the purpose of the DDM module is to do away with silos planning. Now, you find that it becomes something separate, that in terms of the DDM model, we are going to plan together. But in my space as a municipality, there's a consistent silos planning, which does not talk to the DDM model. So as we do away with the silos planning, that must be factored into municipality, so that the DDM principle, you see it vertically and horizontally, so that there is no problem for a municipality to participate at a DDM level, because they are already doing it at the municipal level as a foundation. The last one, Chair, is the issue of streamlining our plans and as government. The example that we made, for example, is the Department of Sports. That Department of Sports is responsible for sports development, but municipalities are responsible for facilities. But the Department of Sports is unable to give financial support to municipalities, because their system is that for them to do that, the budget must go to Mabana. And municipalities where there is no Mabana, they don't benefit. So as a result, municipalities prepare infrastructure for sports development, but sports development does not come because there is no communication or communicating system between your municipality and the provincial department in terms of the sports. I'm sure it is also covered by the proposal that was made by Commission C in terms of buildings that public works need to do. But also there are certain functions of public works we have agreed that they must talk to your infrastructure development in a municipality. So we streamline our communication, and we must also encourage a what do you call government precinct, that where possible, let's have a government precinct where we build, we normally call it one-stop shop. One offices, all of us were found there. So that when I refer you to a particular department, I don't have to struggle even giving you a direction as to whether is social development at Jade Square, or is it at West End, or rural development at PC Pelsa, or should I send you at West End? We are all in one building. We are all found there. So where possible, let's encourage such projects so that we're able to have government in one place, and it makes our communication and our interaction very easy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Majoro. Now, I see there is another hand. I don't know where are you. Mayor Mutukanel. No, I have not given you any chance. I was saying this was the last person in terms of additions. Huh? I'm going to encourage you, colleagues, that if you have anything that is left out from the presentation, you submit it, so that we can then go into the discussion. I know many of us would want to speak. There are issues that may have been left out, but we still have an opportunity to bring to the attention of our scribers, those who are taking notes for us. We can still make that submission. I'm avoiding colleagues to this thing of having afterthoughts. I allow you to speak, I ask you to raise hands. After I've noted everybody, then we, by the way, I'd wanted to speak. I want to raise this. So I'm still giving you that opportunity. Majoro, you can submit it. Thank you. Okay. We are now coming into the discussion. I'm trying to manage time because we are receiving many apologies, and I'm just afraid, Premier, and that is why we agreed that you would respond even to some of the issues that were raised earlier on, which nearly triggered a discussion. You will address and respond to those things in your closing remarks and our way forward, so that we allow those who are having other commitments to be released early. We are on a discussion session now, and I'm going to give people on my left-hand side an opportunity, and then from there I would move to my right-hand side to make submissions before we allow the Premier to make the closing remarks. Can we just be clear, colleagues, that if you want to speak, if you want to make a contribution in terms of all the submissions that we have received, the opportunities now. And I'm going to note hands and allocate you or give you numbers. I'm noting hands and I'm starting here. If there is anybody who wants to speak, no one here. Here we have one person, Lekgotla is covered. We have Dr. Mvola. And then here we have number 2. We have a veteran advisor, Dolo. And then on this line, we have 3. We have the executive mayor of Madibe. These are the people who want to speak from this side. I'm coming this side to check if there is anybody who want to speak. On discussion, I'm noting 3. Mayor, you are number 4, you are number 5, you are number 6. You can come. Okay, Chairperson of Salga, if there is anything from your side, I think you are covered. Anybody this side, HODs, if there is anything you want to say. And that oh, again, that the junkers. You are covered. We have 7 people who want to speak. And then from there we close, colleagues. We really do not have time. Can we start this side, number 1? I'm not going to intervene or interfere. Let the discussion flow. Dr. Mvola, over to you.
No, thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'm just requesting plenary intervention in this matter of the DDM. We are having a number of schools that have been serviced by various municipalities. And normally towards examinations, our schools are then either cut off, the supply for electricity is cut off and so on, and we are told we are owing. When we look at how much we are owing, the fees are highly exorbitant. We are requesting this intervention on the basis that if the DGM has to resemble a structure that must really intervene in communities. Perhaps it's about time that the executive mayors and the mayors instruct the officials to do the proper, I don't know whether it's called counting, the proper billing. Sorry, the proper billing, because indeed what we are now noticing is that we're becoming soft targets. And as that happens, we are now looking at various alternatives which are not going to benefit our municipalities. Because look, if the schools were to all become schools supplied by the solar system, I'm very sure that it would work against many municipalities. And that is not the route we want to take. But that is the route we are being forced into taking if there is no intervention. We really need this intervention, Chair, because we are not going to be writing examinations, and I know that at this stage we normally suffer a lot of unfortunate decisions where the electricity sometimes is even being cut off, and I think that this is the platform we can really plead for the intervention of all of us in this matter. I don't know how nicely to put it without really saying things that I...
It's well captured, Dr. Mvola. The challenge that you have raised. Can I just remind you, colleagues, that presentations have been made, a lot of things have been said, we have requested additions, and we are now discussing on what is feasible, what is possible from the presentation. The second person, number 2. Advisor Tolo.
Chairperson, thank you so much. Let me acknowledge the Premier and convey my appreciation and greetings to the Lekgotla. I just want to stand up on few points. The 2 I'm prompted by the very brilliant presentations we had. The one that came from Dr. Sifiso Mtombela on transformation, beneficiation, and opportunities, which also covered the issue of subsidies to the agriculture, which also went at length to do some comparative analysis on subsidies to South African farmers vis-a-vis international farmers in Europe, where there is 40% of government subsidy, and also in Southeast Asia. The presentation also said that this province has a potential to be the breadbasket of the region. Moving from there, Chair, I would like to propose to the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development to really consider going forward to hold a summit of all players within the industry and also involve the very presenter so that we can come out with a program of action to take these recommendations forward and take our people from bondage of being perpetually emerging farmers and consciously develop potential commercial farmers in the province. If you allow me, Chair, the second proposal is also prompted by the presentation we had on mining trends, opportunities and beneficiation.
Yes, you have asked me if I allow you. Now, I was under the impression that yesterday's presentation were discussed, presented, and that's where a submission or any input was supposed to be made. That today we are discussing presentation from commissions. Now you see, Veteran Tolo, you are putting me in a very predicament situation. But if you did not have this opportunity yesterday to make your submission, I'm going to allow you to make that last presentation. But this is my impression. I may be wrong. Thank you. You can proceed.
Thank you so much. The second point is a similar call to hold this, a summit again, which will include DDECT, MINTEC, DMRE, hosting communities within the mining belt to do the same, to tap into this and come out with a concrete program where people can participate. The other issue is this Amadela Ngokubona. I think government must take a position. We cannot allow anarchy, to prevail under the pretext of black economic empowerment. But this thing really impede on progress, delay projects, and the next time government is seen in a bad light that we are not promoting service delivery. The last issue is on the DDM, that really it seems we are paying lip service to this concept. And I think there must be real movement as we move into 2023, so that we are not being accused as a government that comes with slogans and no implementation and benefits from concepts that have been developed.
Thank you very much, Advisor Tolo. The next person. This was number 2.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just want to comment on the presentation that has been made regarding a matter that in my view is very important, but dwells into abstruse concern and has got a number of possible interpretations. The matter of abrogation of tender system. I thought, but we don't have time, we'd go into its politics and so on. When we talk to the abrogation of tender system, when we look at the presentation, it speaks to a number of suggestions that we must have vetting of supply chain management, we must all have all sorts of things done so that the tender process is above board. But in the same commission, you will find recommendation that says it must be abrogated, must be done away with. The implications are simple. It has implications for the legislation governing supply chain management things and so on. But I think the problem statement is around corruption. That we have to retreat to a point of saying it must be abrogated. My take is that, is this a retreat of our crime fighting capacity, the ability of the state to discharge its responsibilities so far as fighting corruption is concerned? And if we are to build an ethical and capable state, developmental state, we've got to ensure that we have institutions that are ready to deal with, because corruption is a crime. It's defined in terms of the Corruption Act, it's defined in terms of a number of legislations. So I think we've got to, the provincial government must go into an in-depth study into the real implications of abrogating procurement processes or tender systems. Because when we create a capable state, it does not imply that the capable state eliminates existence of competitiveness in society of very honest people. So I think that firstly the proposal would be that the provincial government look into those particular things and matters around also ethical behavior on the part of those who are given those tasks to conduct supply chain management processes through vetting and consequence management insofar as findings of the Auditor Generals are concerned. And those can be placed at the office of the Premier, the relevant MEC, so that in local government and in other spheres or in other departments, there is an emphasis on consequence management. And that would take us back, just in conclusion, if we can take time to read the 10-year review between 1994 and 2004, that 10-year review report of government tells us that we had achieved the establishment of a national democratic state, and one of which was to fight these misdemeanors we are dealing with. So somewhere else we might have lost touch with what we did before as a state. And probably if we do those things, we might. But I'll await the response of the Premier as he's going to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Executive Mayor Maimane. Some of the issues that have been presented there are issues to be considered, of course, whether they are feasible or not. And there are processes to follow. Can I take the next person? Mhlekazi, chairperson of Zamazama.
Thank you.
It's not me, you
facilitator. Yeah, I must start thinking about suing people now. But I just wanted to raise a few things, not more than three. Firstly, I want to thank Commission 2 and 3 for having emphasized on recognition of military veterans in the plans of vulnerable groups. I know I tried in our commission, but I was kicked out by the very person who was saying order. Right. But Chair, I'm very worried that we are going to leave this Lekgotla with no safety plan of the province. We have no picture of the safety of the province. Crime statistics have just been released, and all what we have discussed throughout the commissions, there is no intention or even some form of attempt to deal with priority crimes that are reflected in our crime statistics as part of good governance. I know that we spoke to issues of 15% and 30% at some instances, and the new thing now, we call it Matela ngokubona. Amatela ngokubona. But we're still not coming with a plan as to how are we dealing with those cartels in the development, because those cartels are actually a counter-revolutionary in terms of our delivery, service delivery plans. You have your Matlosane Magistrate Court stopped as we speak because of a 30% issue. I'm sure that's why you forgot to list it on all the magistrate offices that you mentioned there. So it's important that at least we must have a safety plan of the province. I know that Executive Mayor Julia presented on the issue of the family units, but we really look into the moral regeneration in a broader sense, so that all key aspects that falls under moral regeneration, we begin to strengthen the implementation of those aspects. Because once the moral regeneration is properly implemented, we are going to reduce, the crime issues that we are now talking about, the gender-based violence and all other crimes that are actually ravaging this particular province. And lastly, Honorable MEC Molapisi, is the issue of water. We've been having a problem of water. My request is that maybe let's have a delegated session where we have all professionals engaging on the issue of water, so that we understand the aspects that are related to water. Not only the issue of water supply and infrastructure, but we find ourselves, in clashing with Department of Health, for example, that they would say there's a waterborne disease. And when our tests are saying something different. So if we can have a delegated session so that we understand all the dynamics that surrounds the water and begin to address that problem as well, because it's one issue that is actually taking away the confidence of communities in our institutions to provide clean water. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Majoro. I think we have taken note of issues that you have raised. MEC Leare has noted those issues. What we will not do is to respond to some of the assertions that are made, but we take note of that, like we said, that this is not the end. Next, MEC Khosho.
No, thanks, Chair. Chair, I think I want to sponsor the issue around the social cluster commission in terms of what they've submitted. I think we need special schools. We must be deliberate in focusing on special schools. There's just a lot of work, oversight reports in the legislature. And there is a budget that's been set aside for that. And we need to have how we actually also start to structure our special schools. Because we say special schools, we put them under one roof. And there are kids who are intelligent, who we take to special schools, whom we can actually develop differently. Ne? And education is not doing that work. That's the first thing that we need to go and correct with the budget. That budget is enough, it's adequate that we can be able to do that. Because we just do one stop center for all children, which is unfair for our kids. And I think as government, we must go and correct that. The second issue that also again in special schools, and I want to talk about Ikalafin because the former chairperson at you were there with you as well. In Ikalafin, in the special school that is in the township. In the township, ne? The special school that is in the township in Ikalafin is different from the one in Kidivekher. It can be correct. While Elirona appropriate budget. Now those poor kids, they are 16-year-olds, you don't even have an exit strategy for them. Re batla gore o tle ka bone ka DPSA re be ra ba qualify ko system ya government because we've not empowered them. In Ikalafeng, the infrastructure is there. Agona ma teacher they've streamlined the kids to academic. It can't be correct. It can't be the ANC-led government that is doing that. And when we have deployees in administration who are from the ANC-led government. And that must be corrected. And Chair, that must be corrected in this adjustment in going to the next financial year. Those issues that special schools, we must deal with them, colleagues. We can't allow that. The only special school that we find in an informal settlement right inside the township. We are just failing our own children. So I think that on education, we are talking 3-tier system. We've been talking about this thing, colleagues, for many years. And we've piloted 4 schools, Dr. Mvula, am I right? In the province. Vocational and occupational training. If you want to deal about a skilling of our young people that we lose, Batwangudi High School, Dropangadi grade 10, we need to be deliberate with the budget. I have additional budget in Macom. I keep protecting the provincial treasury. It's not about that. We must repurpose the budget that we have and start to redirect and start to develop teachers by law they're able to speak to vocational and occupational training. Then we must work on infrastructure. Dr. Mvula. If we have to reinvest our budget, infrastructure to actually and to capacitate those technical school and vocational, so let's do that and get the private sector to invest on that thing. So on education, I think those issues, that 3-tier system, if we want our kids to start to be absorbed by the labor market, we must start it at the technical schools, not TVET colleges. Technical schools, agriculture. So I think we have to do that. Lastly, Chair, you see, Chair, we can sit here, we are in an EXCO Lekgotla. Part of the weakness is get this thing, you remove the issues that was left while you are from the same party. Because the reason we are where we are today, and may her soul rest in peace. I think Comrade Edna, if she's listening to us talking in this forum, she's rolling in her grave. I was a secretariat when you were my HOD. I was the secretariat of the PGDS. The very same things that you want them. So now, Chair, Honorable Premier, let us fast track the PGDS strategy. Let us start to have the working groups. The PGDS, so that EXCO haya presenter with the crisis that we have. We did not have a presentation at EXCO yesterday, but we have a crisis. You know, we are talking alternative energy and then we contradict local government in terms, because they tell you that the power plant solar is plugged in the grid of EXCO. So when there's load shedding, it doesn't resolve any problem. But even that solar plant private sector investment does not benefit our communities except for short-term jobs. How does it contribute on the corporate social investment? Now we must have a vehicle, Honorable Premier, and to a fine special fund that Treasury is tasked to conclude. Where we say, when we did with private sector contribution in terms of our plans, this is our plans, and this is what we think private sector must, but that must also be done at the district level. So issue oversight, rona at the premier's level, that no. When you know that this and to investigation forensic are not even going to yield any results, because of the agenda of government would be FACA airport, would be FACA SEZ, would be FACA agro processing hub, will be FACA beef beneficiation. If we are able, so I'm going to request that, Chair, on the PGDS as we call, let's talk about the district corridors. The district corridor, our competitive advantages as a province in terms of the corridors that we have. Your agriculture, your beef beneficiation, your agro-processing in Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, your N12 development and N14, of course, but from agricultural point of view, what are our strengths and competitive advantages? And I'm going to propose that the team goes back, Chair, they must go back and look into those corridors, and they fit into the the PGDS strategy, so that we are, even the skills revolution will form part of that PGDS. Because our problem on the West End weakness here is ICT. That we've always time right crisis. So we don't even have an ICT strategy as a province. We don't have the water master plan. Reviewer. We don't have an ICT strategy. The last time they were Comrade Edna. And may us all rest in peace. And I think these are things that we need to start to confront, all of us. But we must also do our political oversight work. Arjo scrambling against NDZ the main causes and we must hold our HODs accountable. HODs must do their work in the next layer of management, because good governance will be a lever of making sure that there is job opportunities, there's economic activity, and we start to eradicate unemployment. Thanks, Chair.
Ra dumelana le se MEC a se buang. There are proposals that have been made. We take note of that, including what was said by Executive Mayor Khumalo Molefe in terms of referring some of the issues to Premier's Coordinating Committee. Thanks, MEC Khosho. Executive Mayor Molefe.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I second the proposal on the convention of the Premier's Coordinating Council on urgent and special basis. That's number one. I also, in addition, want to make a proposal that maybe once a month or whatever time that shall be determined, an MEC must spend a week in a municipality.
Can we please allow the mayor to make his presentation or submission? You are protected.
Thank you very much.
You will explain why should the MECs spend a week in...
Thank you very much, Chair, for protecting me. On a more serious note, I think, and maybe we can start with the capital city. If we can go to Gaborone and see what the Botswana government has done by investing in infrastructure, the Gaborone that you have seen 5-8 years ago is 300% totally different from the Gaborone of today. And maybe we can start in Mahikeng. All of us must confess. In the morning, you can drive in and out of Mahikeng. In the afternoon is the same. What are we doing about it? It can be done. Gaborone next door has done it. Let's pilot it with the capital city. I'm sure we are agreeing on that one. Premier, maybe we must have a session. I don't know what to call it. I don't want to call it a Premier's Coordinating Council, where we say, you who have come into municipalities, what have you inherited? Can those things that you have inherited still be called municipalities? So that every now and then when we talk about municipalities, at least we have a proper diagnosis of what we found there. What is the baseline on which we must build and run? If we can spend time on that kind of an assessment, I believe it will help us. One thing that I want to suggest we pay attention to is this new phenomenon that is gaining traction, if not speed. I move from a principle that says money follows function. But there's a new phenomenon, Premier, especially by ministers who want to dial further down to the ground, undermining stroke, disregarding all other spheres. If we can pay attention to that, so that there is a process. It is there, it's called DDM, we speak about it, but half the time, we find ministers railroading to the ground, intervening on things with projects, and executing the very grants that they are granting us. Premier, please pay attention to this thing called water bots. Water bots. Let's talk about them thoroughly. Let's not talk over them. Those things create problems. I may not exhaust them today. I will not try. But let's look at these phenomena, or these things called water bots thoroughly. The second thing related to that, you see, for some of us who are water service authorities, the mayor tells me he's got his grants, WOSIC and ARBIC, it's not touched. But when you get to NGAC, the minister gives me that grant, it gets out in my name, never comes to me. The very minister executes it himself through his extension called a water board. So the money comes. It's ARBIC, WOSIC. They come out. It's NGAC, 180 million. It comes out in NGAC. But it's executed by Mahali's water board, not. And when people march, they know nothing about Mahali's. They march to me. It's a matter that I thought, Premier, I would not leave this one. We appreciate the challenges in municipalities that we know that from time to time, provincial governments must intervene as provided for in the Constitution. But please, Premier, the people you send as experts, administrators, and whatever, must match the same requirements and prerequisite skills and experiences required for senior managers. And bring people to the local sphere of government who have never set foot in a municipality, but they are there to intervene. We have raised this matter for many years. And all the time we are promised that we are vetting them, we are screening them, yet the end product is exactly the opposite. Yeah, MEC for finance may have a different view. Now, when I look towards conclusion, Chair, you see, we all agree, DDM, we even put it in our speeches, but in practice we do exactly the opposite. Now, when you call Minimex, we don't send, we come. We honor them. MECs, we come. Yes, I missed one of yours, but we come. But when we call IDP forums, when we call district command councils, that DDM, MECs, you don't come. Your accounting officers don't come. When you are represented, you are represented by the lowest ranking juniors. It can be sustainable. Let's agree. If you don't come, we don't come. Okay. So I think if we can correct it there, we will correct this thing that is called integrated planning and monitoring. But unless we correct it there, the quality of people and the level and decision making of the people that you send to those areas. But in conclusion, I don't know how we are going to do it. Synchronizing planning cycles of local government and provincial government, because as it were now, by the time we plan, you are at execution phase halfway. So we've got to find a way really to synchronize planning and budgeting. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Majoro. I wish you were here yesterday so that you have more time to make your submission. I can see that you have a lot in your plate, but we have noted what you have said. You see, you speak, you now open another meeting, and I've been protecting you. Thank you. Next, it's Mayor Major. Was it?
No, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, may I not waste the session's time? The matter that I wanted to deal with have been attended to at least by 3 speakers. I'm covered. Thank you very much.
quite progressive, Major. I hope I'm not intimidating. I'm not party to what MEC somebody say. These are executive mayors of districts. MEC Mohono. MEC Mohono. Thank you. Who was next on the list? Was that the last speaker? Yeah. MEC Lehare, I didn't want to have that kind of an arrangement where we are triggered to respond to issues that have been raised. I have said that we are noting. We may be making remarks or inputs that are not necessarily informed or that are just assumptions. Because if every one of us or each one of us speaks here, then we are to respond and correct things. We are not going to finish. But I'm going to allow MEC Lehare just to say one or two things because he was not here yesterday, MEC, and there are things or information that you would want to share with us. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair of the session, Premier, fellow MECs, mayors, and municipal managers, and other stakeholders present here. Mandela used to say the first democracy of a person is security or safety. You can have everything. If you are not secured or you are not safe, you have nothing. We can have these plans of mega project, service delivery, you name them, fast-tracking service delivery. If they are not secured or safe, our planning will never materialize. That was my preamble. Let me go to question here, issue here, because insecurity, most of our task is to address challenges. That's why even our participation here is not like you. We don't talk too much, we talk less, we arrest. In transport also, we don't talk too much, we ferry person from one another to point A to point B. That's our work. Listen to me, I'll not talk more than 5 minutes. Now, on illicit mining, there is a plan for police. But police cannot come and present a plan in a meeting like this one. I don't have a better way in a mass meeting. We can come to you as the mayor with Major General and generals. I can come to Matlosana and give you our plan specifically for Matlosana, where we have a lot of zamazamas and illegal miners. But don't say they are not doing anything. We have arrested 10 people on the 10. Edwa municipality. That's why the minister came there. It's because of the tax team of Northwest, team of 18, with serious weapons, self-contained, with large guns. Yeah, so we are doing our work. Yeah. It's not nice to say we don't have a plan. We present the plan to the Premier or to you as a mayor. Now, mayors, Premier, are not available. When you go to them, they hide, they send, as you said, they send MMCs. We can't give some information to MMCs. We want mayors, especially you as an executive mayor, to give you the information. No, I came there. The only mayor who was there is Mayor Nikiwe. You came late, but it's not a problem. Let's leave it. Let's leave it. It's not a big issue. Now, in illicit or illegal mining, we have identified Lekgotla, Rustenburg, and Amalia as problematic areas in the province. I think soon we'll visit these areas through mayors. Assist us mayors. When you call what you call minimec for police or for transport, your chairperson or MMC does not come. So we are talking to ourselves. And then, because the purpose of briefing your MMCs or your chairperson is for them to brief you about security in the province. So you come there, complain here, as if you are not working. Your people are not available. But you can take a horse to the river, but can't force you to drink water. You can't go to all municipalities and take people to Mafikeng to come to a meeting. So assist us mayors. But Premier, through you, let me just warm up the ears of the mayors. I'm happy they're here. Because there are a lot of complaints about police. I want to spend 2 minutes on the issue of protest. Protest. How must we deal with protest? And mayors have delivered this message to your councillors. If you see people in the morning when you wake up protesting, closing a road, police will never dismiss them until somebody come and address them. If you wake up in the morning, you find more than 100 people protesting, either complaining about water or electricity. The protocol of police, when they go there under what you call crime intelligence, they will identify what is the problem. If the problem is water, they will ask the mayor or the ward councillor to come and address them. After they are addressed, then we can dismiss them with many. Police have everything, all the weapons. Even weapons that is what police. It's the weapon. I don't know how. Mayor, sorry. In your caucuses, in your council sitting, just talk to a council and yourself. We'll come there and watch them until they are addressed, then they can be dismissed. I can bring commissioner to an area or to 8 areas to address the issue of protest because of this thing of people call themselves forums, for forums. Yeah. Some of these things from the crime intelligence report, Premier, which I'll now be specific. Some of these things is our own making as municipalities. One municipality, 90% of employees are Tsotsis. Around here in this robot. What point is Tsotsi bad to be protected? Tsotsi la dia ba jikela no. This was abona no. Tsotsi la di blogger everything. Hey di blogger but police, where are you? Now the answer utole clipper is very clear. Clipper in the province, police cannot be everywhere. You as community members, you are the ears and eyes of police. Now, secondly, in those municipalities, you know the government is also action as municipalities. Police are not working. And then, you don't open a case. Police will never act. Maybe not one of the subs. Those people are very professional and disciplined. They don't want to lose cases in court. They can't arrest a person without a case. Unless or then arrest without a case. Now, I'm trying to share this information with you, mayors. But how do we operate from police? Last point, Shane, I was not there yesterday. No, I was addressing 20 happy go. What is about? You're not the that's why, like, yeah. Yeah, what is the
Don't be distracted, MEC.
Okay.
Don't be distracted.
Okay. Every criminal is a rebel. I'm not school. It's on a list of his case. The criminals are you to be like it. Today, but also Lena and are very stop and we hear it, colleagues. Vetamba to here. In this about I'm told, it's not from it's from crime intelligence. There's some person was showing a 7 years Omo Parule, Kimeruga Mospa. Ugo one of the senior position is security. You understand the thief to catch a thief. This one is this one is opposite. They're here. This information I will share with the Premier. Now, Premier, we must add Pinaninsberg as part of the mega project. Because Johannesburg is for ecotourism. They said I was not part, but I got a briefing from colleagues from the department. They only add the Jim and Siwa. Jim and Siwa is fine, but we have to add Johannesburg. We must also add NTI, because once it's stabilized, will contribute as it transport the poor of the poorest. We must also add scholar transport to assist small business as it transport children attending schools far from where they stay. So I use this opportunity, Chairperson, through you, to make some impact. Thank you very much. Welcome to Matlosana, my brother.
No, my name is Sisamando. No, thanks very much, colleagues. Thanks, MEC, for the additional information and sharing some of the information so that we are enlightened in terms of what is happening in the security cluster. Also the information that we have shared with us in terms of projects that needs to be considered. Colleagues, I think that brings us to the end of our discussion in terms of feedback from different commissions. Like I said, that this is not the end. There are proposals that has been made in terms of taking some of the issues forward in order to process them. We have noted all what has been said. We are now going to give the Premier to allow him to map a way forward and do his closing remarks, which will be concluding our Lekgotla. Can I therefore take this opportunity to call on our Premier to map a way forward for us? Premier Mape, over to you. Bontate Badilo.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable MECs, executive mayors and mayors, representatives from SOEs, senior managers, advisors, I greet you all this morning. I wanted to conduct some audit, some assessment as to whether we have indeed achieved our objectives. And I looked at the objectives that were communicated to us yesterday. One, to reaffirm the priorities of the provincial government. Two, to affirm the 2023-24 provincial priorities and to ensure alignment with the national medium-term strategic framework for 2019-2024. Three, to integrate initiatives of all sectors, including municipalities. Four, to take note of municipal budgets, identify service delivery gaps, and develop remedial action plans to address such. And finally, to guide the planning process, resource allocation, and set the tone for the State of the Province address. I don't know what your assessment is. Maybe I should request people to indicate how they assess our performance against these 5 objectives for having this Lekgotla. I see the HOD for Public Works wants to say something. It's all right, but I think from my side, the picture is sort of mixed. I think we said very little about municipalities, service delivery problems, gaps there, and remedial action.
I think we said we were quite reticent. We were quite, we didn't say much about that. I think integration of sectoral plans, departments, municipalities, SOEs, and so on. I think even there we didn't really get good marks. I think where we got good marks is to talk about priorities that we are going to link with resource allocation in terms of budgeting. And I think we did refer to the medium-term strategic framework, and so we are taking that into account. So I think there's, if I have to give the marks, maybe we achieved what? 75%, I would say. And it is not bad. 75% is still a distinction. Eh? So it's not bad. It's not bad. MBC, Lahari, it's not bad. It's not bad. But I think what people have been raising are these things that we know, particularly from our background, that there are objective and subjective factors that prevent us from attaining our objectives. Objective and subjective factors. These are two simple terms. My English teacher here can explain this better than myself. Objective will be things like the budget. Do you have enough budget? Do you have enough infrastructure to deliver on whatever you are required to deliver on? And objective issues are sometimes quite clear. We can identify them, we can measure them, and we can do something about them. We may not have enough of such, for instance, the budget. It is an objective factor, but we may not have enough of it. And then we have other factors, and here sometimes it's a matter of personal judgment. When you talk about subjective factors, here we'll talk about maybe education you can measure and training. But as soon as we talk about ability, we talk about commitment, we talk about attitude, these are subjective factors. And these, they are cardinal in terms of one's ability to perform. But it is here where we are never sure whether these are resident in the person assigned the task. Are they really resident there? And this brings me to this famous political theorist, Amilcar Cabral. I know he's famous for this story of tell no lies, claim no easy victory. He's famous for that. He's also famous for this other one that people don't eat ideas in the heads of politicians. They want food. They don't eat ideas. He's famous for those two. But I like him for this one, class suicide. I like him for that one, class suicide. Amilcar Cabral. And when he talks about class suicide, it's something that all of us here have to sleep over. If you become a middle class, like we are all middle class here, do you have the ability to genuinely identify with the poor, the downtrodden, and the marginalized? Do you have that? And in that piece, he talks about something called revolutionary empathy. Are you capable of having revolutionary empathy? Because if you are middle class, every day of your life, you are confronted by opportunities to enjoy privileges of the middle class. You can go on holiday to Cape Town, you'll fly, you'll have a big car, you'll have a big house. But do you have the ability to identify with the downtrodden, the poor, the hungry, and the needy? Can you act in such a way that you demonstrate that? You show that I identify. And in order for you to do that, you must commit this that is called class suicide. You must be in a position, and this is a subjective thing. And you don't commit class suicide once and for all times. You commit it every day. Because as middle class, you are confronted by these opportunities of easy life, life of luxury, life of abundance. And you have to see how you do things to cater for the downtrodden, the hungry, and the needy. It is a subjective factor. And you don't commit class suicide once and for all time. Amika Cabral, I hear about tell no lies, claim no easy victories. People don't eat ideas in politicians' head. They want food. I hear about that. But this one, and this one of class suicide, this concept has become current now in debates about transformation, in debates about change in Latin America, in Africa. As people are saying the state is failing. Is it because of this subjective factor that the state is failing? People who started talking about this are people next door in Zimbabwe, Ibo Mandaza, talking, is the state failing because all of us who want to bring about radical change are the middle class. And maybe we are not committed to this thing of upliftment of the poor. But Amika Cabral said it's possible. And he cited many revolutionaries, their background. Amika Cabral himself, a medical doctor, coming from a well-off family. Agostino Neto, medical doctor. Nelson Mandela, a lawyer. Oliver Tambo, a lawyer. All these people coming from the middle class. Did they succeed in subjectively taking on the task of bringing about positive change in the lives of the poor and the downtrodden? I leave this for you to ponder on and to think about how our subjectivity may be the problem in terms of bringing about real change in the lives of our people. As you know, I am not, what do you call it, MEC Sambat, I'm not a classical politician. But I want to talk about the Lekgotla. Leave those type of politics of Ibo Mandaza and Amika Cabral. In fact, the person that started this debate about class society is not Amika himself. It's many other theoreticians who were there before him who started this debate about class society. Even Lenin was from a very wealthy family, but he managed to identify with the poor and he led the struggle of the poor. I'm sorry for talking about people like Lenin who died many years ago. My children were telling me, but I want to talk about, I think we need a committee DG led by you, and maybe with some academics and some practitioners in the area of planning, budgeting, and so on, to see how we can improve on the Lekgotla process. We may need that, how we can improve on the Lekgotla process. We've been doing it this way for many years. Maybe we need to look at other ways of doing it, the Lekgotla process. I think we have to create in the Lekgotla an opportunity to review Lekgotla resolutions of the past financial year. I don't think we paid adequate attention to that in this Lekgotla. Last financial year's Lekgotla resolutions, to interrogate them thoroughly and say, have we performed? Or these were just written so that we comply? but they were not translated into action, into clear project and programs. I think we need space in the Lekgotla to do that thorough review. I think we need an exercise where people will get all the documents, and so that there's prior preparation in terms of reading. People get documents before time. There's prior preparation, and so that the quality of contribution and participation is sort of elevated, so that we elevate it. I think the structure of the presentation, sitting here, getting a presentation from Stats SA, getting a presentation from Mintech, how do we want to structure these presentations? Getting a presentation from agriculture, is it following the same structure? Is it raising issues as we would like them to be raised in the local? So we have to talk about that. I think what has been raised here, and I'm sorry I threw you in the lion's den, homeboy with the water issue. I think before the Lekgotla, we should really identify what we regard as key priority areas. I mean, it's not a good thing that we did not thoroughly discuss the problem of water and electricity in the Lekgotla. I mean, we didn't really discuss them. And so it's a serious problem, and it was raised by myself indirectly when I said Khosile Bake must do a presentation, and raised by the executive mayor of Ngaka Modiri Molema, who said that intervention by Mr. Lebakeng did not really address the issues, and it was misplaced. I think we have to deal with that. And I think we have to deal also with issue of crime. Crime is also a key issue, and so it should enjoy some special focus in the Lekgotla. The issue of ICT. Now, we no more talk about communication as just telephone, numerous belief, and so on. We say ICT, and we have to elevate this. I mean, I hear people talking about smart city, smart city, smart city. But I've never heard any executive mayor say, Pisho, you are young. You should be talking about smart office. You're not talking about it. Why? What is the benefit of a smart office, smart complex? We're not talking about these things. And I understand that they'll make our work easier, they'll make us more efficient, they'll make us more effective. You know, people who, like my children who have designated a new title to ICT, they say ICT is the new God. I say, aye. But anyway, they say ICT will help us. Now, how come that we talk about smart cities, but no one is talking about smart office? No one is saying Harona must be smart complex. You know, in Harona, there's still, when you pass through the offices, you get stench from the toilets. I mean, maybe ICT will help with that. I mean, that stench from the toilets. I mean, you can't sit in the passage and easily connect to, I mean, in Harona, I mean, in this age, and we sit here, fourth industrial revolution, this, but we are not doing it. I mean, I'm sure Public Works is leading in this regard, in terms of ICT. Huh? So ICT is key. The issue of disasters. I think we sit here in the Lekgotla and the rain is falling in Mafikeng. And so I had to send my informers to Dielpan. Hey, just go and check there what's happening to the water level as it is raining. And there was fire in Kagisan Molopo, and we don't know whether COVID is gone. I see there are a few people here with masks. We don't know. So the issue of disasters, we requested, and we have not yet received a final report. I see HOD Mamorana It's not a final report to say, can we produce a plan in the Northwest that anticipates disasters? Can we produce a plan so that we have a plan, a tentative plan, because we don't know when these things will happen, but can we anticipate them? And can we plan certain activities based on that plan, so that when the disaster occurs, you know, we are not running helter-skelter. We know what we have to do. I was discussing now the day with the Fire Association. I said, you know what is the problem here? We are not allowed to do simulation. And you know how simulation helps us? It will make us ever ready for any felt fire. I say, for instance, you know how many people you have from time to time, whether they are trained, whether they have the required instruments and tools, whether they have the right clothing. But worse, if now a felt fire is noticed somewhere, I say, go to the truck. You try to start the truck, it can't start. It has been standing there without being checked whether the engine is still functional. Can't start. Now, you can't respond to the fire. We need to think hard about our ability to respond to disasters. Actually, in terms of, I heard, is it Executive Mayor Nikwe, that you know, there are plans there, but we disregard them. We disregard them because in terms of the law, we must set aside a certain percentage of our budget. Superintendent Kunene, a certain percentage of our budgets must be set aside for disasters. Have we done that, Superintendent Kunene? No, you see, that's what Executive Mayor Nikwe is saying. In terms of felt firefighting, departments must pay a subscription to the association. Have we done that, Superintendent Kunene? Not all, you see. This is what Executive Mayor Nam was referring to. There are laws, there are regulations that are intended to assist us in dealing with issues. But there are other subjective factors that are preventing us from doing these things. The other issue I want to raise in terms of our Lekgotla is that we having a Lekgotla, we focused on agriculture and mining, but we left out tourism. Tourism, like agriculture, is a sector that will always be there, and that is growing, and that is tapping on the middle class from advanced countries, including now, because there's a huge middle class in China, including China, to come here and enjoy our tourism offerings and help us create jobs and grow the economy. But we didn't talk here about tourism. We only discussed mining and agriculture. But also in terms of inviting key stakeholders, I think we didn't invite labor, and that is, maybe we did and they didn't show up. Labor, and we should at all times ensure that when we discuss these things, labor is invited. Labor participates. That is this government is saying we deal with business, labor, and civil society, civil society, and civil society. We deal with this, and so now we do have civil society, maybe one, and that's not adequate. Maybe we should have, and this is something that should be done by social development and the Premier's office, maybe we should have one body that coordinates activities of women in the province. because they are a key sector. The stats showed that women are really a key sector, and they are the ones who bear the brunt of unemployment, poverty, and so on. And so we may need to bring them in as an organized formation to be part of the Lekgotla. We are operating in a province that is largely rural, and where the traditional leaders are a very important stakeholder. And we invited them, they didn't come. We need to work hard. When we invite such important stakeholders, we should make an extra effort to ensure that they are here. Because all these things that we are talking about, we are going to do them where they have jurisdiction, where they have subjects. And how will we do them without having enlisted their support? So we have to think hard about how we should bring them into this. One other thing is the attendance and the attendance of municipalities. I'm not really happy about the attendance of the municipalities. I'm also not happy about their role here. I think we need them to indicate to us what is it that they are doing in summary form. What is it they are doing and where are the gaps? Because if we have to integrate, we must know what they are doing and what are the challenges they are facing. So I think the role of municipalities, we'll have to look at that and redefine. Finally, I think one other area which I think requires some concentrated attention is the issue of youth opportunities, and maybe that should have been on the program of the Lekgotla. How do we massify learnership, internship, community-based public works program? How do we massify? How do we integrate? How do we ensure that municipalities are aware of these things, are playing their part, and we are playing the one? Yesterday I made it my business to interact with a few mayors, and they were complaining about the community-based public works program, that they don't see it, they don't know whether they are benefiting from it in their municipalities. But I think because youth unemployment is really a big challenge, it's a big challenge, we have to make a plan to ensure that it's part of our Lekgotla, we focus on it, we have a presentation on it, and we say, how do we massify? How do we really massify in terms of youth, dealing with youth unemployment? I think, Chairperson, there are many issues that have been raised. One issue that was raised was the issue of solar plant and so on. There's a new thing that is emerging, and it's emerging mainly in Europe, that politicians must be techno-politicians. I don't know whether I agree with that. Techno-politicians. If you are a politician, you must identify a specific field. Maybe you'll benefit from your training, academic and so on, and focus on it. Or if you did not get training academically in terms of that field, you must develop yourself in that field. They are called techno-politicians. So that politicians, when they discuss issues, they shouldn't defer most of the time to managers, because managers can create a black state. It's a term from America, the black state. But these techno-politicians then are required so they can read the laws, the decisions here and there. Because the issue of solar energy, it's a policy decision. We must have some conversation with Gweremantashe to clarify, because we were also equally frustrated when we learned that, I forget the name of the company, is building a solar plant in Lekgotla. we were a bit frustrated, and we said, I said, I had a meeting with Hanville Chicken in the Lekgotla, and Hanville Chicken said, we wanted to expand our operations, and the impediment is electricity. But we think we will buy a generator, and it will, of course, reduce our bottom line in terms of profit. But we will then use a generator, but we wish we could buy cheaper electricity from somewhere. And so I thought I could connect this project, the solar project in Lichtenberg, with this electricity need of Hanville. But I was told, no. They call it prior what? Comrade Paul, prior purchasing. There's a nice name, not off-take agreement. Prior purchasing. Yeah, now that power that is going to be generated in Lichtenberg, it's purchased by a company in Durban. So it will go straight from there to Durban. The farmers in Lichtenberg need electricity. But this is the law that we promulgated as South Africans. I don't want to talk about political parties, but as South Africans, this is our own law that determines how these things are done. We try to engage, and I'll still engage with the minister to say, what is this? Can't we benefit from this? But it's important, as I said, for politicians also to familiarize themselves with this, and it does happen. I mean, I've been witness to politicians understanding the department, the issues, and so on. Because if you don't do that, like I said, you end up in a black state like they do in America. Black state refers to a situation where the officials and big business, this is part of capturing, start taking decisions on behalf of politicians who have no clue as to what is happening in their departments. Those Secretary of State for this and this. It's called a black state. I'm getting to the conclusion now, Honorable MEC Molapisi. I just want to refer to the process from here. I want to reiterate DG and MECs, Honorable MECs. We may need some people to look at how we can improve on the Lekgotla. And I'm sure if we have the PGDS, it will help us. But we do need some commitment from participants to do prior preparation. And that means those who are arranging the Lekgotla should generate whatever documents are required in order to fully prepare for the Lekgotla. So we need that, so that umgangatho ephezulu ngibambe now we have to repackage because some of the discussions were long and so on. The HODs will meet guided by the DG, and they'll repackage, what we've discussed here. The intention is that whatever we resolved on here must be translated into project for the next financial year. We don't even have to wait. We can start now. I think this explanation was abundantly given to us by Superintendent Kunene, that in terms of the envelope, we know what we are anticipating, we know what we are going to get, and we can start now with the planning, so that we don't commence with the planning after March. We can start now, so that whatever resolution is relevant to your department, HOD, can you start working on that now? We don't want these prolonged process of planning, so that something we want to do in this financial year, we plan in such a way that it will be done 3 years later. We must see how we shorten that without, of course, violating the prescripts. But we see how we can shorten that. But can we start that way? Please, Remogorosi, please. Remurule, please. Remongale, please. Rekhanti, please. Can we ensure that we start now? And all these. In fact, there may be other projects, of course, that will require 2 years to implement. But can we start? Can we start? Can we start? Can we start? Like I said, we are in a rush, MEC Hosho. We are in a rush, we leave a legacy, so they must help us speed up the process. And then after the officials have panel beaten our resolutions, they will then get to EXCO, and then we link that with the budget. And then I heard last week that one department was busy with its Lekgotla. I think it's some bad sequencing. This should come first and then departmental Lekgotlas. But I heard last week and so on, so that this then should be cascaded down to the departments, so that whatever is relevant to their department, the officials there will know. And we have to present this. I know that people talk about planning and they talk about mission, vision, values, strategies, tactics, and what. Can be summarized. The first step is to have a united idea of what you want to do. The second step is to do it. Can we make these be ideas in the heads of officials of what we must do, and then they must know they are going to do it, so that they have this new vision that in terms of how we do things, we get what we must do, and then we do it. So DG, this is what MEC Molapisi, this is what I wanted to say, that we still focusing on 2 areas. Mayor, you know, I was a school teacher and a principal for many years. When I teach and I see my pupils being distracted by some objects, I used to get quite upset. But now people tell me this is the age of technology. Now you speak now, they are busy sending messages. And then when you ask them, what are you doing? They say they are taking notes. And the last time, I won't mention the name of the person. Last time I said, but Chief, we're in a meeting here and you're busy with your laptop. And he said to me, I'm taking notes. So I'm giving you a clue. He said to me, I'm taking notes, and he's an MEC. And so I peeped behind, I could see he's not taking notes, he's writing something. So the impulse, the impulse in me of a teacher is to get a little bit upset when I speak, and people are busy with their gadgets. But I want to take this opportunity to thank those who arranged the Lekgotla. I know it was not easy to ensure that we are all here. I know that the Lekgotla has been postponed, but you worked very hard to get us all here. You arranged sleeping accommodation, you arranged food for us. We want to say we appreciate that. We also want to appreciate the presence of the business sector, academics, and members of the panels that we have established as government, that they are here. We will appreciate their observations, and they should pull no punches. If there's one thing that I know we human beings thrive on, that we like that, to be flattered. You like that. We like to be flattered, but please don't flatter us. Just tell us the truth, the gospel truth about your own assessment of the Lekgotla. So we thank you for attending this Lekgotla. We also take this opportunity to thank the officials. I know you planned over time to ensure that we have your inputs. In terms of officials, there's always ample room for improvement. So next time, I'm sure you'll come here with officials. There must be ample room for improvement. So next time when you come here, officials, you'll give us your improvements. And then, like I said, the SOEs, Home Affairs, I'm happy you are here. We want to listen to your projects, but we also want to listen to challenges. The queues in Mabato, sometimes they are too long, you know. All over, can you find a way of shortening them? You know, and sometimes people go there and they are told, come the next day, come the next day. I thought you have a system of informing people when their IDs and their passports are ready and birth certificates, so that they don't go there to go and inquire. Just think about somebody coming far away, you know, from Disanen to come and, you know, but these are things that maybe we'll have a session with you and we'll raise them. But thank you very much for being here. The DG and the administrator, the HODs, the MMs, and my leaders, the mayors. The mayors, we must graduate. We must graduate for only raising problems. It's a good thing to identify a problem. It's a good thing. We applaud people for that. But we'll get more applause if you advance solutions. We want you to identify a problem, but tell us what is the solution. Because you are put there as a leader, as a piso, and so you must lead. You must come up with solutions. And we want your participation. The participation of mayors here was slightly muted. I don't know why they mute themselves. Maybe you should ask somebody who is in IT to unmute them. My MECs, my colleagues, I thank you very much for being present here. And as always, you are quite active. Sometimes I enjoyed the mood that you are, the ambience that you are creating. MEC Wadara, the ambience that you're creating. And so it's an ambience that makes us feel free, that we are welcome. And of course, we should still be robust, still be focused, and so on in our deliberations. But I take this opportunity to thank you very much, all of you, and wish you a safe journey back home. Thank you very much.
Very much, Premier. That was the way forward and closing remarks. So I'm not going to interpret anything that has been said by the Premier. I think marching orders are quite clear to all of us. Premier, on your observations, I think you are correct. I think we are very much grateful from your input that one thing, although there are concerns, but one thing that you have indicated, or part of the thing, is that the Lekgotla was a success, because you say you are giving us 75%. So we are very much thankful of that. On the way forward and all issues that we have raised, I think you have flagged and highlighted a number of issues that needs to be taken into consideration. water being one of those issues and electricity, and that should have been part of the presentation. We had made a proposal. I think that proposal would be carried, that we should have the Premier's Coordinating Committee so that we can then broaden the discussion and take it further forward. Like I said, that I don't want to interpret and analyze what we have said, but thanks for those marching orders. Colleagues, we have come to the end of our session on the second day of the Lekgotla. The DG has noted the directives as given. I think what would be important emerging out of this Lekgotla with all what has been presented and said is implementation. If we can see implementation taking place in the context of the framework, budget allocation with its constraints and all that, I think we would appreciate that. Having said that, colleagues, we have announcement. The first announcement, okay, you can come. I am told that, yes, you can come before. Maybe I come with the second announcement.